Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, the Consultative Committee tasked to review the Constitution proposes 3 Supreme Courts and a change in the impeachment process.
So instead na lahat nakatambak sa Supreme Court, nahahati yung certain cases depending kung anong klase ng issue.
Lawless violence as ground for declaring martial law.
Niligay lang natin yun to apply to the present situation.
A regulated ban on political dynasties.
We are not focusing on any particular person or entity. We are doing this for the greater interest of the people.
And a 2-party system under federalism. CONCOM member and former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Eduardo Nachura joins us live. And later, a beautiful disaster, a stunning time-lapse of Hawaii's Kilauea volcano. That's for today's In Focus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. The Consultative Committee tasked to review the 1987 Constitution buckles down to work and proposes big changes to the country's current charter. One of their latest proposals is adding lawless violence as a basis for the president to declare martial law. CONCOM says lawless violence refers to terrorism and extremism, similar to what happened in Marawi City. Also on the table, the proposal to change the impeachment process and having 3 Supreme Courts under a federal form of government. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Consultative Committee member and former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Eduardo Nachura. Justice, good to see you again.
Yes, it's good to be back. And although this is not the original station, are you?
Yes. Times have changed, sir. So much has happened since then. It's good to see you, and it's good to see you're well. You're part of the Consultative Commission. Sir, how many meetings have you had, and where are you in terms of a progress report?
We took our oath of office before the President on February 13. February 13, immediately the following Monday, we started work. And we worked for 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday. Except that this week we will start working 5 days a week.
So it's a lot of work, right? It's a daily work for most of you.
It's a daily grind.
Yeah.
Then we normally start with, considering that many of us are retired, we normally start at 10 o'clock in the morning, but we end at 5.
Yeah.
So it's
like going to school or going to work.
Going to work, yes.
Yeah, so it's back to the grind for most of you. Of course, a lot of you are retired because a number of you were members of the Supreme Court as well.
3 of us there were members of the Supreme Court.
Considered as experts in the field and in proposing amendments to the 1987 Constitution. So let's talk about the fine print. What's been approved so far? Justice, I understand that the articles for the executive and the legislative branches have been approved.
2 days ago.
Okay, so approved na yon.
Approved na yun.
So pag-usapan po natin, let's start with the executive. We still have a president, we still have a vice
president. Okay. And they are elected at large. Although one change is that when you vote for the president, you vote automatically for the vice president. In fact, we are looking at the possibility that the ballot will contain only the name of the president, the name of the candidates for president, so that if you check the name of the president you want, then you automatically check the name of the vice president. That's, we do not seem to want a repeat of so many instances when we had presidents and vice presidents belonging to different political parties.
Which has happened so many times. I don't even remember the last time, Justice, that the president and the vice president came from the same party.
Oh, Gloria and
Sige, balikan natin.
your fellow from Bayan,
Okay.
Kabayan.
Kabayan,
Yeah,
Noli de
Gloria
Castro.
and Kabayan, yes,
Right,
they
that was
were.
the last time.
That was the last time.
And then, yeah, after that. What is the wisdom behind wanting to have the president and vice president win coming from the same ticket,
Yeah.
Justice?
For continuity, if anything should happen to the president, the vice president who belongs to the same party and presumably has the same frame of mind will simply continue until completion all of the plans, projects, etc. of the president.
But what if we don't like the president and we like the vice president, or we like or vice versa? It somehow, doesn't that take away our right to freely choose who our president is and who our vice president
It does. But if you want the presidential candidate, then you have to trust his choice of a vice president.
Okay.
That's it.
So yun po. And the president and the vice president obviously must run in the same
He
ticket.
can belong to the same political party. Yeah.
Is there anything else on the executive?
Well, something you mentioned earlier, the power of the president to suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus and to place the Philippines or any part thereof under martial law. Originally, well, in the 1987 Constitution, the grounds for declaring martial law are rebellion, invasion, whenever public safety requires it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now you want to include lawless violence.
Lawless violence. The reason for that is today there are several modes of disrupting government, not simply through rebellion or invasion. There can be cyber attacks, for example, that will rock the country. And that is not invasion, that is not rebellion. It may not qualify. So lawless violence that may arise from any of these, like as we said, it refers to acts of terrorism and acts of extremism, like what happened in Marawi. This can be grounds.
But Justice, I don't understand. You said that there could be cyber attacks. So
Yes.
how does this link to lawless violence?
It could be, cyber attacks could generate lawless violence. It could generate what? It could generate disorder, so that this may be considered as lawless violence. Apparently, we would like to include this among the grounds. Let me just tell you that in the 1935 Constitution, one of the grounds was insurrection.
Natanggal po yun.
Tinanggal na yun sa
1987.
1973 at sa 1987 Constitution. Dahil yung insurrection, siguro tayong mga nag-aral ng history, ng Philippine history, mga insurrectos, mga ganyan. Masyado na matagal yun.
Yeah.
So, apparently, the framers of our more recent constitution no longer thought of insurrection as a possible mode. In
That's
much
why
the same
tinanggal.
way, yeah, that's why tinanggal. In much the same way that there may be disorder that can result, or chaos that can result from things other than rebellion and invasion. We call this lawless violence.
Yeah.
That's it.
But would lawless violence directly assume domestic threats? Let's say, domestic.
Both.
Yeah.
Both domestic and foreign.
So how do you? I guess in a way, the domestic issues or insurrection is a problem here in the Philippines.
Yeah,
For
yes.
example, we have the NPAs. So any attacks, is it just clear, sir, that if there is an attack, a widespread attack by the NPA, that is...
No, I don't think that. I don't think.
So what constitutes lawless violence then?
Well, it really has to be of such wide magnitude and of such danger that if the existence of the very republic will be threatened.
Under threat.
Yes.
What about, Justice, the process by which martial law is declared, Congress, hindi ba ho hanggang...
Ganon din.
Ganun pa rin.
Ganon
But
pa rin.
are you going to fix that small
60 days.
provision there, sir? Congress in joint session, di ho ba? There were arguments kung ano ibig sabihin ng joint session?
Yes, we will eventually fix that. Joint session, saka yung vote,
Yeah.
majority vote, the consensus, of course, is when we speak of a majority vote of Congress, we speak of a majority vote of the House of Representatives and a majority vote of the Senate.
That's clear to you?
That's clear, yes.
Because to some people, it's not clear, sir.
Yes.
A majority vote is a majority vote, vote combined by both houses of
Yes.
Congress. So those have been approved in the articles for the
Yes.
executive.
Executive and legislative, of course.
Okay, so now we go to legislative because
Yes.
this is this is going to be a big change. Because we're so used to senators being elected nationally,
Nationally,
congressmen,
yes, yes.
legislative, and party lists.
Yes.
So, sir, let's look at how senators are going to be
Okay.
elected.
So there is a Senate that will be composed of senators elected by federated regions. The federated regions are the independent, the autonomous states into which the Philippines will be divided because we are veering into federalism. Yes. So we have agreed that each region, federated region, shall be entitled to at least 2 senators elected at large in the region. That is common representation. Like in America, they have 2 senators per state, no matter how big or small the state may be. Here we are saying each federated region shall have a minimum of 2.
A minimum of 2.
Minimum of 2, provided that each region shall have the same number.
I see.
Because you see, we had not yet truly decided into how many regions. Kung 5 region lang, 2 senators, 10 lang. Masyadong maliit
But
na Senado yun.
we're certain it's not just going to be 5
Yes,
regions. Because if we were to look at the federal form of the PDP Laban, sir, that's about, is it 16?
18.
Or 18 regions?
17 plus 1 ang tawag nila. 17 plus 1. Ang plus 1, Metro Manila, because they want Metro Manila to be treated like Washington, D.C.
Okay, the
or
capital.
Kuala Lumpur, and not a state, not a separate state, simply an administrative region.
But more or less, how many regions are you guys looking at?
18,
18.
including Metro Manila.
Okay, so more or less, we're looking at 36 senators?
Yes, on the basis of 2 per region,
2 per
36. Tama na siguro yun.
So, ang mangyayari ng Justice, if you're from this particular, let's say 16 regions, I'm from region 1.
Okay.
I can only vote the senators who are running, obviously, in my region,
Yes, of
and I can vote
course, yes.
2 of them.
2 of them, yes.
So, let's go to the congressmen now. The
Ayun,
congressmen
yan.
will still be elected by the legislative district.
Now, the number of congressmen are classified into district representatives who are to be elected by district and representatives under a proportional representation system.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
Medyo mabigat, sir. How do you mean, what does that mean?
This is in fact intended to replace the present party list system, which has not proven to be very, very successful. Wait, so
How do we elect our
proposal-
congressmen?
Okay, our proposal is not more than 400 members of the House of Representatives, unless otherwise provided by law. We anticipate that with the growth of the population, we may need additional congressmen.
Yeah.
Then 60% of this shall be elected on the basis of district elections, like the present legislative districts.
So, the 60% of the 400 will be elected, which is about 240.
Yes.
Okay.
240 districts. The Philippines will be divided into districts composed of provinces, cities, including Metro Manila. So, on the basis of population, based on a uniform and progressive ratio. This is virtually the same formula we have under the present Constitution.
So it's as if we are going to elect congressmen based on cities.
Based on
districts.
Cities, we have a provision that cities with at least 500,000, with a population of at least 500,000, shall be entitled to at least one. And provinces, irrespective of the number of populations, would be entitled to one.
Okay.
So yun. Ang election yan, under the 1987 Constitution, the Constitution itself contained what is known as an ordinance appended to the Constitution. The ordinance actually already divides the Philippines on the basis of provinces and cities into legislative districts. We propose to do the same.
I see. So does it,
For the 200 members, 240 members, yes.
does it can we give an example, Justice, before we go on a break? Let's say Quezon City.
Yeah. Quezon City. Now there are six ba ang Quezon City?
Basta madami silang distrito.
Because of on the basis of population. So
Yes.
it's possible that it will have
6 congressmen too,
many congressmen, yes.
as well.
That's right.
All right, we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Coming up, not 1, but 3 Supreme Courts and a revamp of the Judicial and Bar Council. We'll get to know more about these proposed changes in the judiciary after the break. And later, a stunning time-lapse of one of Hawaii's active volcanoes. That's for today's In Focus. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Consultative Committee member and former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Eduardo Nachura. Sir, balikan ko lang si Congress. So, sabi niyo po kanina during the break, so yung nakasanayan natin, naboboto ka ng congressman, dalawa na iboboto mo. Isang congressman,
Isang district representative, saka isang political party under what is known as a proportional representation system.
Pero siya si party list. Parang
Yan ang parang ngayon, yung binuboto mo partido rin eh. Partido rin. Kaya meron tayong mga yung bayan muna. Has been entitled to representation of at least 3 for the last.
Yeah, because of the proportion of votes they get. So,
ganon din ito ngayon.
pero, okay.
Partido din, saka proportion pa rin.
Aha, so yung party list, ganun pa rin pala, pero partido na siya.
Partido.
But what do you mean by, ano yung partido?
Ngayon, kaya we will have a new article in the Constitution on political parties and political party reforms. Yun. Kailangan magrehistro ang partido. Kasi okay lang yun.
Okay.
Kailangan magrehistro at masabi doon ang kanilang totoong platforms and programs of government. That's it. Even now, that's also required. And then, there are 40% of the 400 translates to how many? 160
Na natira.
seats.
Yes, sir.
Okay. They will submit a list of their own candidates. Kung if they think that they can get all 160 seats,
Pwede yun?
pwedeng 160 names in the order in which they want their representatives to sit. So, minimum entitlement 5% of the total number of votes. 5% entitles you already immediately to 1. Pero merong pang uling pag-allocate ng seats noon on the basis of
400.
Ilan muna lahat ang nakakuha ng 5%, etc. At
Down the line.
Down the line.
And then we go back to the top.
Yes.
So I have a question, sir. If we look at the party list winners, you have party lists such as Ako Bicol, Gabriele, Juan Pacman,
Yeah.
Features. Pwede pa rin po silang...
Pwede pa rin.
Si-
But they have to register under new rules on registration of political parties, which will be promulgated by the COMELEC.
So here's the thing, Justice. You said that it didn't seem like the party list system was working, and yet we're still going to somehow keep the party list system
Yes.
here. What
Yes.
for?
You won't believe it, but almost all the members of the current House of Representatives signed a manifesto asking the CONCOM to retain the party list system.
But you're not bound by
No,
that,
of
sir.
course not. Of course not. Of course not. But
Do you want to keep them?
no, that is why we have designed a better system, not exactly the party list system under the old law.
Yeah, okay.
We are going to do away with the old law, with old party list law, and we would like to design a new system of selecting.
Okay. Let me just be maybe go into the critical part of the party list system, sir. Some say that it works. Some people don't say it works. Some say that it's a venue for people who cannot win or who have another person who have won in their districts, create a party list para po maging congressman or congresswoman sila. Does this new representation proposed in the CONCOM, does that solve that problem, sir?
No, it is still possible for some people to join a political party and seek political party nomination. Kung nandoon sila sa una ng listahan ng isang political party and the political party obtains a sufficient number of votes, then they have every right to sit. Pero ito naman, merong kunting, which is really a concession to the present party list system. It's like this. During the first 3 elections under this new constitution, 1/2 of the total number of seats allotted to the proportional representation, we are talking of 160, half of 160, 80,
Yes.
will be allotted to political parties who represent economically marginalized sectors.
But that's the wisdom of the party list system,
that's
Justice,
right.
hindi ho ba?
That's right. But this time, only 5 economically marginalized sectors.
Okay.
Labor, farmers, fisher folk, indigenous peoples, and urban poor.
Okay.
So, yun. May preferential right sila to 50% of the total number of seats allotted.
Which is 80.
Which is
So
80.
those 4 have five have rights to 80.
To 80.
Representation.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I wish we could discuss this a little bit longer, Justice, but I'm sure it's a little bit more complex now.
Yes,
But
that's
just to end the party list issue, sir, is this something you think can still work under a new framework?
Yes, because this is the practice in a lot of other countries in the world, Germany, France, the proportional representation.
But do they practice what is practiced here in the
No,
Philippines?
that is it. That was the original concept, I think, behind the party list system. But somehow it did not work out.
Okay. All right. This is controversial. Although this has not been finalized, sir, the Supreme Court. We're looking at... Oh, sorry, before we go there, when we talked about the Senate, a question was, is this still going to be a 2-party system? How are senators going to be? Any party?
Anybody.
Ang ano lang talaga is President and Vice President.
President and Vice President.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's go to the Supreme Court. Justice, 3 Supreme Courts and not appointed by the President.
Not all of them are appointed by the
So let's talk about just very briefly, sir, the 3. You have
Okay.
the Federal Supreme Court, the Federal
Yes.
Constitutional Court, and the Federal Administrative Court.
Yes, yes. I would like to tell you immediately that there is a 4th court we are talking about, we are also looking into, although not of the level of the Supreme Court. We are proposing that all election contests involving the President, the Vice President, senators, members of the House of Representatives, and regional and governors and vice governors be resolved by a special electoral tribunal.
Okay. So it's an electoral tribunal.
This is a special electoral tribunal we are trying to create here in the judiciary also.
Composed by
Well,
elected, how were they
composed of-
appointed?
They are mainly appointed. We are proposing a 15-man court or tribunal, 5 to be appointed by the president, including the presiding justice, 5 to be appointed by Congress, by the Commission on Appointments, and 5 to be appointed by the Federal Supreme Court or by the Constitutional Court.
I see. Okay, so that's the fourth, huh?
That's the fourth. This is not really in the level of the Supreme Court, but it's
mas mababa siya.
the fourth judicial tribunal.
Justice, it's the PET, the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, basically.
It will replace the presidential, the Senate, and the House electoral
Instead of,
tribunals.
when there are contests, you go to the Senate for Senate.
Yes,
Yes, I
yes,
get that.
yes.
So iba po yun. But there are 3. So let's talk about the federal.
Okay,
I don't think we have
Supreme
enough time to talk about each one. But every court.
Briefly.
Sige, sir. Let's start
Briefly.
with the
Supreme Court,
Supreme Court.
of course, it's basically the same Supreme Court, except that you limit the cases that are to be elevated to the Supreme Court. It has still appellate jurisdiction over cases from the lower courts. We are looking at the possibility that there may be a court of appeals in each region, and so their decisions may still be reviewed by the Supreme Court. That's possible.
By the federal
By the
Supreme
federal
Court.
Supreme
Okay.
Court. Okay. But
Federal
questions
Constitutional Court.
involving constitutionality, including constitutionality of laws and of executive orders, etc., this is removed from the Supreme Court now.
Yeah.
It goes to the Constitutional Court.
I see.
Yun.
And then the Administrative Court.
Siyam din ang members ng Constitutional Court.
Yes.
Ang Administrative Court naman, special din ang kanyang jurisdiction. Basically, appeal. You appeal from the Civil Service Commission. Ngayon, if you appeal from the Civil Service Commission, you go to the Court of Appeals. You appeal from the Supreme Court, from the Commission on Elections, you go to the Supreme Court. From the Commission on Audit, you go to the Supreme Court. And yun then you have a lot of other administrative bodies. Itong third court natin will be the appellate court for all of these decisions made by itong lahat ng administrative bodies.
Again, we'll be taking a short break. This is a source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Consultative Committee member and former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Nachura. Sir, why the need to have 3 separate Supreme
This
Courts?
is really intended to declog the caseload of the Supreme Court. You see, lahat ngayon, wherever you go, the complaint has always been, it takes so long to resolve cases. If we declog the caseload of the Supreme Court and give these other cases to other courts, I think mapabibilis naman.
Justice, very
Siyempre.
quickly, meron pa bang Prime Minister? Magkakaroon
Wala.
Walang Prime Minister. Thank you, Justice Antonio, Eduardo, and Nachura. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.